We bring in investigative journalist Matt Taibbi. Back in December, he published the Twitter files that revealed the company's internal communications around the suppression of the Hunter Biden laptop story just before the 2020 election, which revealed some back and forth between the administration and social media companies and how they were trying to craft the release of that information and whether or not people would get to see it. Matt, great to have you with us. Thank you very much for being here today.
Thanks, Martha.
You know, there's irony clearly in the fact that Hunter Biden is now going after the IRS and the DOJ for weaponizing his personal information when the shoe had been on the other foot with these whistleblowers who came in and said, we're with the IRS. And clearly the IRS and the DOJ have been, weaponized in his favor. They're trying to protect him. What do you think of that, Matt?
Yeah, it's certainly ironic, isn't it? It seems like the government bent over backwards to keep a lot of information that was clearly newsworthy out of the public domain. As a result of a variety of things, including the censorship of this story, we didn't learn for a very long time through these whistleblowers that there was this whole galaxy of shell companies, that Hunter Biden was tied to. I don't see how he could possibly claim that the disclosure of this kind of material is a personal violation when it's so clearly relevant to a public investigation.
What do you think is the strategy of this lawsuit? And there are expectations that there will probably be more, right? Is this a sort of large PR campaign or part of his campaign to push back against all of this? And do you expect more of it?
Well, certainly they're going to avail themselves of every legal means that they have at their disposal to try to slow this thing down. But I think in a larger sense, there is some PR value in trying to present Hunter Biden as, a confused person who had personal troubles, who's now the victim of this overweening investigation. And I think this goes to that. It's actually a smart move, I think, on their part to do this. I don't know whether it's going to work, but I can understand the lawyers thinking that they should do it.
I mean, it's interesting that he's going after the agencies that are, essentially part of his father's administration in this way, right?
Well, right. Yes,
I've never seen that
exactly.
before.
As soon as they start behaving like independent entities, of course, they become enemies of Hunter Biden. That's certainly ironic. I mean, again, the evidence shows that they bent over backwards to try to accommodate him, even when he said ridiculous things like trying to claim that income was a loan when clearly it's a taxable event as soon as he gets it. They hid this stuff, and now it's coming out, and he's upset about it, and that's what this lawsuit is. So
this is a headline from the Wall Street Journal. Ties between Joe Biden and Merrick Garland deteriorate from distant to frigid. This headline, right before Merrick Garland is about to testify before Congress, and clearly he would like to have this narrative out there that he has kept the White House at an arm's length from all of this investigation, when the IRS whistleblowers argued exactly the opposite, Matt.
Right, and that's going to, yet to be determined exactly what his role was in all of this. But again, from the public relation perspective, you're absolutely right. It's in Garland's best interest to present himself as being caught between a rock and a hard place and stuck between his loyalty to the president and his duty to do the right thing. But these things all come out in the end. It's like the telltale heart. You just can't keep these things suppressed. So we'll see how it turns out.
Still beating under the floorboards. Matt, thank you very much.
Exactly.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.